I am your host. Write down our toll-free telephone number. You're going to need it. It's 1-800-5800-TOM. 1-800-5800-866. Thank you for tuning in. Thanks for being part of our program. We appreciate it. And we have a story from the front page of the Canadian newspaper, the National Post. This was in the paper last Friday, and a number of you have not only tipped me off to this story, but also a commentary written that is tangentially related to this story. So I'm going to read to you, and then we're going to talk about this. Oh, we're going to talk about this. This story from the front page of Friday's National Post in Canada. A federally funded report. When they say federally funded to all our American friends, they're talking about the Canadian government, not the American government. For those of you who think federally funded always means Washington, D.C. No. In Canada, they refer to their own government. It's the federal government. A federally funded report says masculinists, which I guess is supposed to be the opposite of feminists, are orchestrating a backlash against feminism and blaming women for oppressing and discriminating against men. The report's authors claim the masculinists portray men as victims and link feminism with boys' poor performance in schools, male suicide, loss of male identity, and discriminatory divorce and child custody laws. This was a $75,000 report called School Success by Gender, a Catalyst for the Masculinist Discourse. Here's one of the quotes from it. It says here, a process of leveling the power relationships of men over women is taking hold, not only to mask continued inequality, but also to attack some of the gains made by the women's movement. The report says masculinist discourse aims to discredit feminism and challenge the gains made by women in education, at work, and in family life. The report was written in response to a call from Status of Women Canada, a federal department, to research the subject, Where Have All the Women Gone? Changing Shifts in Policy Discourses. This is what your taxpayer money is paying for in Canada. That's right. You went to work today to make that 60-cent dollar you make in Canada, and then on top of that, the taxes they took out of what's left of your puny paycheck were used to pay for this report. Says here, a disclaimer on the front of report says, this document expresses the views of the author and does not necessarily represent the official policy of Status of Women Canada or the Government of Canada. Among the report's recommendations is that an organization similar to one called Hate Watch be established to monitor men's groups on the web. Well, the Gestapo. Let's have them in Canada now. That inciting hatred on the basis of gender should be a hate crime, and that women's groups establish a network to counter the masculinists' views. Really? Men's groups listed in an appendix to the report said they were outraged at being smeared, and well, they should be. Ken Wiebe from British Columbia said his website, fathers.bc.ca, was set up as a resource center for fathers who have had trouble in the divorce courts. He denied and promotes hatred of women and said it demands equality. There is no question that I have very little patience for feminists, especially the radical variety of feminism here in Canada, he said. But I have a wife, I have daughters. This notion that because we are opposed to the feminist political agenda, and that somehow equates to a dislike of women, is just propaganda. That's some kind of smear campaign. Mickey McMillan of Kamloops Parents of Broken Families said he was angry at being put on the hit list. All I've ever done is advocate for equal parenting, said Mr. McMillan, who represented Canada as a boxer at the 1962 Commonwealth Games. He said, I have no agenda against women. I don't like feminists because I think they're radical and I think they're against men. But I don't think they should try to criminalize me and my government paying for it. It is a disgrace. We couldn't agree more. Jim Hodgins of the Canadian Committee for Fairness in Family Law in Ontario, which is on the report's list but does not have a website, said, I think there is a serious need to look into why the government is funding this. In an interview with the National Post, the main author of the report, Pierrette Bouchard, a professor in the education department at Université Laval, said she was surprised at what she found on the websites. At first, she said, I thought, well, these are just a few small fringe groups and it's not important. But eventually I found out there are more of them than I thought, and that they had a large network on the Internet through which they are disseminating their views. That does bother me. It was very surprising. Hey, tough. Tough. You want to have a police state where people now have opinions that are illegal to be expressed? Screw you. She says, in conducting this research, we found attacks on feminists on a lot of sites. Tough luck. Attacking feminism and attacking feminists does not mean you hate women. It means you hate feminists. Most women are not feminists. We don't hate women. We hate you. Do you see the difference? All of you with the butch haircuts and the 160, 170 pounds and the junk in the trunk and the hairy legs who are always complaining and trying to make laws against men. You are the ones we hate, not the other women, you. You understand the difference? I love women. I hate feminists. She said, I have a feminist perspective, but just because I am a feminist does not mean that I am incapable of seeing that boys are having certain difficulties. Nor do I put all men in the same basket. Not all men are like those identified in the report. I hope I made this list. I'd hate to think I was left out. I hate feminists as much as anybody. How could I get left out? It's discrimination against Americans. That's what it is. Why am I not on the list? She defined masculinists as activists within certain men's groups. Ms. Bouchard and the report's two other authors, her research assistants Isabelle Beaulieu and Marie-Claude Prelou, began by studying how masculinists use the media to portray the phenomenon of boys being less successful in school than girls. The report says, however, circumstances led us to examine various masculinists' discourses, of which school success or achievement is only one. It notes articles in the media went from discussing girls' triumphant breakthrough in the 1990s to placing the emphasis on boys' malaise. The authors blame the media for spreading the masculinist misinformation. They say men's groups view feminism as a movement to oppress and discriminate against men. Of course that's what it is. Wake up! Now, that was the story from the front page of the National Post on Friday. And here, from the very same newspaper, on the very same day, in the commentary section, the op-ed page, if you will, here's a piece written by someone named Elizabeth Nixon. No relation to Richard Nixon, as far as I know. It's not spelled the same. Anyway, I want to thank our listeners who sent this to us and pointed this our way because this one mentioned my name several times. So I got left off the other list, but at least I got included in this commentary. Here it is. The battle of the sexes rages on. My about-to-be former beloved, what are you, getting a divorce? Spent last weekend, as he usually does, at my house, being fed and watered, lying around like a pasha, interspersed by little outings planned for his pleasure, broken by 2 45-minute periods of furniture moving and thistle removal, this latter taken on his own decision. Blah, 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 blah. Get to the point. Honey, they said to her, write 350 words, and she just lathered it with useless, meaningless Unrelated prose. Honey, he said as he retired for his second afternoon nap, wouldn't it be nice if we had more friends over for dinner? Get out the lawyers. That would mean I have to find the people, plan the evening, plan the meal, buy it, cook it, serve it, and do most of the talking. Not to mention quite a lot of the mop-up, although he will do the dishes and complain mightily for hours afterwards. I put that at about 8 hours of physical labor on a weekend for pleasure. After the weeks I have, which are fraught, I don't think so.
You got 2 hands, do it yourself.
I got to musing as to how those few years I spent deliberately celibate were among the happiest of my adult life. Yes, I was lonely, as even a woman with a good, even statusy job and a lot of friends can be, but there were no endless hoops being held up every time I managed to hurl myself heaving and exhausted through the last, feeling positively nostalgic here. Maybe I shouldn't have been listening to Tom Leykis, who I promise you is even more annoying than me. Leykis, who recently on Vancouver and Toronto's Mojo Radio, and in the States for several years now, expresses his gender's most visceral feelings. Leykis believes that a man with a 6-figure income should have a very thin girlfriend, 5'9", 125 pounds is ideal, and that no man should fall in love with either a single mother or a woman with debts, on the grounds that you shouldn't pay for the fallout of other relationships. Have sex with them for sure, as much as possible, but nothing else. Plus, quote, it's quoting me now, if she hasn't put up on the third date, kick her to the curb. She quotes me again. Some of my favorite material here, by the way. He won't go to his high school reunion because he wouldn't, quote, touch any of those women with a 10-foot pole. Why? Because now I can afford your daughters. It's one of my better lines of all time. And I believe it 100%. This piece continues. The alpha male ascends. Pop sociologists believe the reason Leykis is so popular, and trust me, in that cash-rich 18 to 44 male bracket he rules, is that young men have been thoroughly soured by the rights revolution. Political correctness and the redressing of past opportunity deficits have made life in the 20s, 30s, and 40s, for your red-blooded male, a minefield of bend over, boy, and let's see how hard you like it. In California, for instance, Leykis claims if a man even forms a bond with a child, he can be sued for lifetime child support. Leykis, who started out in radio as the liberal counterpoint to Rush Limbaugh, that's not true, has a solution. And now here is a misquote. I want to say that before I read this misquote. I've been responsible for 4 pregnancies, he announces, and forced 4 abortions. I didn't force anything. I never claimed to force anything. And as usual, women have a listening deficit. And so let me make up for some of that deficit by explaining, and hopefully you'll hear it this time. You could have called us for confirmation of those quotes, by the way. And writing for a newspaper like the National Post, you'd think you have a responsibility to check the facts, which you didn't. I said that I dated women who I knew would have an abortion if they got pregnant, and when they got pregnant, they all lived up to their bargain with me. And I saluted them on the air for keeping their promises prior to getting pregnant. And as usual, women have a listening deficit. And so let me make up for some of that deficit by explaining, and hopefully you'll hear it this time. Could have called us for confirmation of those quotes, by the way. And writing for a newspaper like the National Post, you'd think you have a responsibility to check the facts, which you didn't. I said that I dated women who I knew would have an abortion if they got pregnant, and when they got pregnant, they all lived up to their bargain with me. And I saluted them on the air for keeping their promises prior to getting pregnant. How do you force someone to have an abortion? What, at gunpoint? What are you talking about? Stupid. She goes on to say, which is why, too, apparently on a somewhat softer note, the top music video in Canada last week was Tracy Bird's catchy and way amusing, That's What Men Are Like. And then she quotes the lyrics. We like to hunt, golf, drive around, lost. Remember when we come calling in, we're not sorry, we're not wrong, and we're probably going to do it again. I don't think so, says Elizabeth Nixon. A girlfriend and I decided that our generation of men is the most decadent since Regency dandies. Just like women, they have promoted feelings above everything else in their hierarchy of values. If it feels good, it must be good. If sex feels good, have a lot. If a woman is inconvenient, kick her to the curb. If you don't want children, force them to abort. Convenient how she, misquoted me and then took my misquotes and fashioned them into her reasoning here. Says here, little wonder that Alpha Male 2 is Donald Rumsfeld, the man who many women think, secretly or not, no matter the age, is the most attractive thing they've ever seen in their life, including every dreamboat Hollywood has created. Really? How old are you, sweetheart? It's not just that he has increased the level of safety in the world, though certainly that is the greater part of it, so much as an equally visceral throwback to the longing to be taken care of by someone with actual real-life principles. Single-handedly, this man has morphed the military memeing from the whack-job USMC general in the film American Beauty to a brilliant, witty, strong Secretary of Defense who wins effortlessly every battle, including those with a depressive and hostile Washington press corps, by gently indicating that he is their moral and intellectual superior. Makes us positively weak at the knees. Really, speak for yourself, sweetheart. There were reasons in past generations for rules that govern relations between the sexes, and they weren't the rules that Leykis or his female counterparts promote. They were created over hundreds of generations, yes, in part to ensure the survival of the species, the health of children, and progress. And yes, some of them are unnecessary and outmoded now. But originally they were not based on which sex was stronger or had all the cards, as much as on what worked. What is not working now is the Darwinian battle between those whose needs are dominant and whose feelings are got to be the most thoroughly glutted. So Alpha Male 1 or Alpha Male 2, me, I'm looking for a Donald Rumsfeld. Well, that's great. Excellent. Now, blah, 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 blah. It's like turning on one of those hair dryers, or you wash your hands in the bathroom, press the button, and all that hot air comes out, The bottom line here is that there are now people in Canada who want to make commentary like what we say on the air illegal. They want to term it as hate speech because we don't like feminism and we don't like what feminism is doing. And anybody who thinks Canada is the 51st state or that Canada is just like us had better look again. Because Canada is nothing like the United States. I mean, they speak English in most of the country, and they watch a lot of the same TV shows. But there is a political correctness movement in Canada that dwarfs anything we have in the United States. So this idea that it's okay to be a feminist and to talk about all the things that have to be done to turn around the big bad men. But you can't comment on feminism or you'll be accused of hate speech. It's outrageous, don't you think?
Tom Leykis. 1-800-5800-866. Tom Leykis. 1-800-5800-TOM.
That's a good slogan for our show. Better than a fatal accident.
The Tom Leykis Show. Here we go.
Tom Leykis Show at 1-800-5800-TOM. If you're just tuning in, there's a group now in Canada that wants to look at men's groups as hate speech. Actually, refer to the kind of speech that we engage in on this show as a hate crime. What do you think about that? We don't hate women. We hate feminism. That's what we hate. 1-800-5800-TOM is our telephone number. More of your telephone calls are coming up.
The Tom Leykis Show. This is the Tom Leykis Show.
From Los Angeles at 1-800-5800-TOM is our telephone number. Amanda on the Tom Leykis Show. Hello.
Hey, Tom.
Hi, Amanda.
I'm a huge fan.
Really? How big are you?
Not that big.
Oh, okay.
But I am calling because I'm confused. I just turned my radio on, and I'm hearing you say that you're against feminism?
Feminists.
Oh, okay, because I do recall hearing you call yourself the original feminist.
Well, of course, I am the original feminist. That's why I have no time for these people who pretend. I am America's original feminist. I mean, it's just like I'm an atheist. How can I believe in a God when I am the highest power you will ever reach?
I hear you, Tom. Okay. No, I was just confused because I turned on my radio, and I guess I just caught the tail end of what you were saying.
I am America's original feminist, and I'm upset at what feminists have done to my beliefs and to my cause. Because it isn't what I believed in as the original feminist. I believe in complete equality.
I absolutely agree.
Most feminists do not believe in equality. They believe that women should be allowed to suck at the teat of man, especially those of us with large teeth.
No. I'm so tired of women who think they should get the same pay when they're constantly leaving work.
That's right. Exactly.
And, I absolutely agree with you. 100% take me out with a bong rip.
Here it comes, Amanda. Ian on the Tom Leykis Show. Hello.
Hey, Tom. How are you doing?
Do you care, Ian?
Absolutely.
Doing great.
Good. Just want to let you know, I lived in Toronto for a great part of my life, and this kind of thing is one of the very reasons that I decided to move to the States and live in sunny California.
That, and you wanted a dollar that was worth 100 cents. That's
right. But mostly it's not the fact that these people have their opinions. It's the fact that the government supports these kind of views, and it's not fair. If they're going to do that, then why don't they have the other side of the argument supported with government?
Well, we are led to believe in the United States that Canada is a democracy, so somebody's voting for these people.
Well, you want to know the most ironic thing about this? It's that in Canada they have this sort of political correctness that runs throughout the spoken part of the country, but then you turn on the television set, and every night after 10 o'clock you can see boobs.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Does that make any sense at all?
Do you see boobs in equal quantities? Do you see men's boobs and women's boobs?
No, you see women's boobs.
Ah.
So it seems to me that
sexist.
the government is going to support the feminists when it comes to this, but when it comes to the dollars and cents of it, they're going to go the other way.
Let's have fairness on Canadian TV. Let's have male penises on television.
Absolutely. Thanks very much, Tom.
Thank you. Giving new meaning to the phrase large and in charge. 1-800-5800-TOM is our telephone number. Lisa on the Tom Leykis Show.
Hello, Tom.
Hello, Lisa.
Let me tell you, I love to hate you. Sometimes I don't know if I want to punch you or if I want to do you. But anyway.
Maybe both in the same evening.
It could be.
One after the other.
Could be fun.
Maybe one at the same time as the other.
Well, maybe.
See, you're getting moist just thinking about it, I can tell.
Maybe. Anyways, I was calling because, I am a Canadian citizen who lives in the States. I haven't changed my citizenship, nothing like that, and I never will. I got to come here through NAFTA, blah, 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 because I'm an elementary school teacher. And just what's bothering me is that, there's so many things that I agree with you that you say, lots, and of course that I disagree. But what really, really ticked me off just listening was you read this whole thing that this Canadian person wrote, blah, 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 and then you completely generalized Canada, just like, the government did as far as the whole war thing goes. Just because...
Well, in reality, many men have called in from Canada and have complained about the political correctness that exists.
Oh, absolutely.
And, in fact, all one has to do is to... I watch Hockey Night in Canada on DirecTV, which is on the CBC, and we don't see a lot of the commercials. We see a lot of the promos for the CBC and public service announcements and what have you. And when I look at the politically correct programming that passes for network television in Canada, all of these diverse dramas with Native Canadians in equal quantities to black people. How many black people live in Canada? About 10. They all have black people and Native Canadians, and they're all racially and ethnically balanced. And all these shows are the history of Native peoples, and it's like, come on.
I mean, listen, I agree with you about all this feminine crap and whatever, blah, 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 and this politically thing.
Hate speech?
But I know, but that's ridiculous.
The government paid for this report? Why is the government paying for a report like this?
That's what I'm saying. I'm a Westerner from Canada, Our side of the country, by the time, when we vote in the government, by the time that they get to our votes, our counts, the government's already been picked because we have no population over there and nobody cares what we do.
Well, you know what? It's just like California in the United States. Same thing.
You have more people in California than the whole damn country of Canada.
Yes, we do, as a matter of fact.
That's all I'm saying is I totally agree with you as far as this feminine thing, but don't generalize it like that.
Well, you understand, again, You can only go by the laws that are passed.
Yeah.
And the law.
Tom, please forgive
if
me,
more
'cause
people
I'm a
live in the,
Westerner.
I understand, but when I see laws, and of course these ones come out of the East, where if you want to sell your house, you have to sell it in English and French.
Yeah.
How
and I have to correct you.
Sieg Heil.
I have to correct you. You're so talking about facts now. The dollar is at 75 cents right now.
Woohoo! That's 'cause, you know why? That's because our dollar's been dropping lately.
That's right.
That's right. So you guys backed in. That's what happened there.
And like I said, I'm a Canadian who lives in the States, and you're right. They are very different as far as government goes. But just because Canada has a certain government does not mean all of Canada agrees.
Oh, well, of course not every single person agrees.
Especially
but
not me.
you guys vote in the government, and then this kind of stuff comes out.
I mean, Jesus Christ, we don't even know if our Prime Minister speaks English or French. It's somewhere in between.
Well, there you go.
But I love you, Tom. I just wanted to say that.
Well, thank you,
and,
Lisa.
I hope I get to, maybe meet you someday. Do you ever do that? Like, because I just started listening to you, like, maybe 2 months ago, like, when I moved here. So do you ever do, like, I don't know what you'd call it, where you, like, go places and people get to come and meet you?
Oh, yeah. Well, we come... Oh, yeah. As a matter of fact, if you want to show me yours, we'll be looking.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. You hang on, Dean. We'll set that up.
Do you ever do a show, do broadcasting from Seattle?
All the time.
Oh, well, I don't know these things.
Oh, yes, all the time. We're in Seattle at least 4 times a year.
Okay.
Yes.
Good to know,
We will be in Seattle in July.
Okay, so then I'll punch you in, do ya?
Yeah, you punch in.
Yeah.
You punch in and then punch me in, you know what I'm saying?
Tom Leykis. 1-800-5800-TOM. Tom Leykis. The Tom Leykis Show.
The Tom Leykis Show at 1-800-5800-SHOW. Thank you for tuning in. Thanks for being part of the program. We appreciate it. 1-800-5800-TOM is our telephone number. There's a move afoot in Canada. People want to make men's rights groups guilty of hate crimes. Say hi here to Melinda on the Tom Leykis Show.
Hi, Tom. How are you?
Do you care, Melinda?
Yes, I absolutely do.
I'm doing great.
If I didn't care, I wouldn't have pulled over in Fillmore and parked my car just so I could wait to get on with you.
Ah, okay.
Hello?
Yes, I'm waiting for you to talk.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm not a mind reader. How am I supposed to know what you're calling about?
The feminists.
What about it?
About the men's groups that think that with the feminists being women, the men are taking it out on the women. What about the men who take it out on the women already?
What are you talking about? What do men take out on women?
You were saying about the men's groups against the feminists.
Yeah, what about them?
Okay.
What about them?
Well, it's no different than, the women, they're complaining that the women are doing it to them, correct?
Doing what?
Well, being the men's organization.
What is your point?
My point is the men are complaining that the women are doing it to them. The men are
doing what?
Hi, this is Jenny Garth.
I just couldn't believe this woman. She's like, keeps trying to make the same convoluted, but there was no point there.
I'm sorry.
Jesus. 1-800-5800-TOM is our telephone number. It's Tim on the Tom Leykis Show. Hello there, Tim.
Thomas, how are you?
All right, Timothy.
Well, I just had to call. I've never been motivated to call before, but the ranting about the feminists, I just seemed a little bit too much. And then I heard you talk to Amanda, and I think I got it clear about what you were thinking about. So what you're saying is that feminism's okay, correct?
Equality is okay, but not feminism. I'm the original feminist. I have no problem with equality, which is why I believe that women should register for the draft, women should lift heavy objects, women should be subjected to the same strength and skill tests as men for jobs like police, fire department, the military. I believe
Tom.
that women should have to show up at the office the same number of hours per day to get paid the same amount of money as a man. I believe in full equality. Unfortunately, feminists do not believe in equality. They believe that women should be able to come and go from the office as they please, work flex time, get men to do things that they don't feel like doing, make the rules easier for getting into the police department or the fire department. They do not believe in equality, and I do.
Feminists believe that.
Well, nobody believes in nothing. I mean, we're not talking about all. We're talking about in general. And in general, that's the way it is.
Well, I think the example you're using was pretty extreme.
What example?
Canadian nuts. They just seem.
Have you ever been to Canada? This kind of political correctness is rampant.
Well, let's just keep it up there then. My God.
Well, but guess what? We do business in Canada, for example.
This wouldn't be a product of the free trade agreement, would it?
No, it has nothing with NAFTA. No, it has nothing to do with that.
They're not exporting it south, eh?
Not that I know.
Well, I'm just glad to hear you're not ranting against all feminists, just the wackos.
Well, most are.
Oh, I don't
There is no need for feminism. None.
Well,
women can do any job. Women make the same money as men when they come into the office, the same number of hours, and do the same job as a man.
Yeah, that would be great, but I don't think we've had a rich history of that in our...
It doesn't matter what we have. Now everybody's equal, so the whole thing is stupid. Now feminists have nothing left. It's like, you know what? It's like most labor unions. They've run out of things to do. So they spend their time trying to come up with things to do.
Well, I think you're seeing an evolution of policy over time, Tom. And so, yeah, I think there was a need for a strong movement probably back in the 60s and 70s.
But it's over now.
I agree with that.
But they keep putting out reports, and they keep trying to prove their point, and now they're really scratching when they're trying to say that what men's rights groups are saying is hate speech, and therefore it should be illegal.
Agree with that.
That's outrageous. Because believe me, feminists engage in more hate speech. How about when you say that you don't need a man? Men are not necessary.
Well,
you don't need men to father children. I mean, you think that's not hate speech?
I agree with you there. But tell me about this California case where the guy wasn't the father, but now he has to pay child support?
What about it?
Is that true?
Yes.
Jesus. Hey, Canada annexed California now.
Well, you know what? I'm telling you, what happens in California eventually happens where you